can you explain the disconnect between your conversations with President Xi, when those potentially could happen and why they haven't happened yet?
Well, you don't know whether or not they've happened.
That's my question.
Yeah, I mean, I've never said whether or not they've happened, but I have a very good relationship with President Xi, and I think it's going to continue. And I would say they have reached out a number of times.
He or they?
Well, the same. I view it very similar. It would be top levels of China. And if you knew him, you would know that if they reached out, he knew exactly. He knew everything about it. He runs it very tight, very strong, very smart. And, we're talking to China.
So they've reached out in recent days or recent weeks.
Excuse me?
They've reached out since the 145% tariffs.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Do you believe
A lot.
Do you believe
a lot all the time? We're talking.
Have you ever talked directly to President Xi?
I don't want to say that. No. It's just not appropriate.
But you're speaking.
Sorry.
Has he called you directly, President Xi, or reached out to try to facilitate a conversation?
Well, you'd think it was pretty obvious that he has, but we will talk about that soon. It's not that important because, honestly, we're going to have a deal. I believe we're going to have a deal with China. And if we don't, we're going to have a deal anyway because we're going to set a certain target, and that's going to be it. Do you have anything to say about that, Howard?
I think our tariff policy around the world has every country in the world coming in and talking to us. It is incredible. We had country after country in yesterday. We are confident that we will work out something with China, and the president knows what he wants to do, and I think he knows it better than anybody else in the world, and we are confident that this is going to work out well, both for the United States of America. I'm sure he'll work it out with China, but the amount of other countries who are working with us is incredible. And I think it's really going to work for the American farmers, for our ranchers, for our fishermen, for our businesses. The scale of companies coming to America just every day, like even this morning we were talking about Whirlpool, and then we were talking about car companies opening. The scale of factories coming to America is mind-boggling, driven by Donald Trump's tariff policy, which has got the world coming and finally respecting the United States of America.
President Trump, you said
And by the way, there's never been anything like it. We have at least $7 trillion of new businesses coming in. If you go back and look at others, I mean, in years they wouldn't do anything like that. So, and this is in a matter of weeks, so it's been pretty amazing.
You said we're talking, so China and the U.S. are talking on tariffs.
Oh, sure.
Do you believe then that they won't go higher than 125%? We've heard Chinese officials say that. And what happens if they do go higher? Do we retaliate more?
Well, at a certain point, I don't want them to go higher because at a certain point you make it where people don't buy. So I may not want to go higher, or I may not want to even go up to that level. I may want to go to less because, you want people to buy. And at a certain point, people aren't going to buy. And it's actually up to 145% because you have the 20.
You previously said that you would consider reducing tariffs on China to get a TikTok deal done. Is that still on the table as of now?
Well, we have a deal for TikTok, but it'll be subject to China, so we'll just delay the deal till this thing works out one way or the other. And I think it's a good deal for China. The TikTok deal is very good. TikTok is good for China, and I think they'd like to see us do a deal, especially the deal that we have pretty much done with some of the best companies in the world.
If they agree to sign the deal, would you take that into consideration?
I think it would be something we discuss because it's a natural. If we're making a deal, I guess we'll spend 5 minutes and talk about TikTok. It wouldn't take very long.
Can you give us a sense of how far along these negotiations are with China? Are they in the early stages, or are you inching closer now to actually making a deal on tariffs?
I think that we will make a deal with China. I think we've had some very good talks, but we will have some very good talks remaining. And, I view it, and some people say, oh, rush. I think we have a lot of time. I think we have plenty of time. But we have very, very good. You saw Japan was here yesterday. We had Italy today. We had a great conversation with the Prime Minister. We've had very good talks yesterday with Mexico. Talking with everybody. The problem is there's only so many hours in the day. I think we're going to make a deal with China. We're going to make a deal with everybody. And if we don't make a deal, we'll just set a target and we'll live with that and it'll be fine too.
How much time do you think?
I would think over the next 3 or 4 weeks, I think maybe the whole thing could be concluded. You have to understand, we're a big, if you think of us as a big, beautiful department store before that business was destroyed by the internet. We're a big, beautiful store, and everybody wants a piece of that store. China wants it, Japan wants it, Mexico, Canada, they live off it, those two. Without us, they wouldn't have a country. And everybody wants a piece. And at a certain point, if we don't make a deal, we'll just set a limit. We'll set a tariff. We'll set some parameters, and we'll say, come in and shop. They may not like that, and they may find it, or the market may find it too high. You know, more likely the market, but the market may find it too high, or the country may find it too high. Then they'll come back and say, well, we think this is too high, and we'll negotiate. Or they're going to say something else. They're going to say, well, let's see what happens. But they always have a right not to do it. So they can say, well, we don't want it, so we're not going to shop there. We're not going to shop in the store of America. We have something that nobody else has, and that's the American consumer. And I had the most successful 4-year period in the history of this country, and I think we're going to blow it away this time. But there is a little bit of a transition, and we're going to have that little transition, and it's not much of a transition. You know, if you look right now, we're getting 25% on cars, right? We're getting 25% on steel. We're getting 25% on aluminum. We're going to have some other things that we're going to be adding in the not too distant future because we want them to be made here. The medicines, the drugs, pharmaceuticals are going to be done, and computer chips, et cetera, et cetera. And because of that, we have the biggest computer companies in the world coming in from Taiwan and other places, and they're building in Arizona and lots of other places. We're number one in AI by far. We're leading China by a lot, by tremendous amounts. We're going to supply electricity at levels never supplied before. They're going to build their own electric. We're going to let them become a utility, essentially. And it's going to be amazing for the country. They're going to build their own electric plants. We have to double up our electricity to remain number one in AI. We're going to have to double up our electricity take our whole country. We're going to have to double up our electricity. Think of that. And probably even triple it up. And we're going to let them build their own electric plants with their plant that they're building for the AI or whatever they're doing. Never been done before. We're going to get them quick approvals. Going to be very clean, going to be very nice. And we're going to get them very fast approvals. And people are investing in this country like they've never invested before. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Fred.